Are you stuck repeating the same patterns of action and even inaction as you were this time last year? So convinced that this offseason you were going to make so much headway to take your game and your index to the next level. Yet, you're trapped in this yo-yo dieting-like yo-yo golf cycle. Look, here's a reminder. It is not too late. The turn of the year has passed. It's here. It's now your opportunity to separate yourself from your peers, your competition, and last year's version of you. This is your reminder, your wake-up call. Take advantage of this opportunity. So much opportunity for growth without ever stepping foot on the course. I get it. Where you live might be cold, less than ideal conditions to get out on the golf course. Yet there is so much you can do to separate yourself. And I highly recommend you go back and listen to, I believe it's episode 115, might be 117. It's titled Separation Season. For the swift kick in the ass, the inspiration and motivation you need to get to work to take your golf game to the next level this year. With that said, welcome back. Welcome into another episode of the Scratch Golfers Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist, and I'm a mindset and performance coach who helps high achievers like you get unstuck, out of their own way, and unlock their full potential. You're in for a treat today because I am joined by the man known as Trottie. Chris Trottie is our beloved guest today. Chris is one of the most respected figures in the modern golf equipment world, known globally for his expertise in club fitting, product education, and tour-level equipment performance. If you are a tech nerd, a gear nerd, understanding and wanting to learn all of the ins and outs about the latest equipment, you've got to check out Chris. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. I put the link in the show notes. Here's what you need to know about Chris. He spent more than 20 years with TaylorMade Golf, working directly with some of the best players on the planet as the tour representative and senior manager of global sports marketing. During his tenure, he became a trusted resource for elite pros seeking precise fittings, equipment adjustments, and performance insights. After 2 decades inside one of the most influential brands in the game, well, Trottie took another route. He transitioned into entrepreneurship, building Trottie Golf into a leading digital resource for golfers who want to understand their equipment on a deeper, data-driven level. We'll talk equipment, we'll talk fittings, and we'll talk a lot more about his decision, the pressure, the stakes, and his entrepreneurial journey that is just getting underway. Without further ado, please help me welcome Trottie to the show. Chris, you've reinvented yourself from a behind-the-scenes tour rep to a global brand. I'm curious, what was that process like for you internally? What was the identity that you had to let go of in order to step into the one you have today?
Yeah, it's a good question to start for sure. And I think I went to a subconscious place of just doing it out of necessity. I had worked for a company for 20 years and absolutely loved my job. Loved everything about what I did. But in the end, it was just a growth mindset that I knew I could do more. And I think I came to the maturity and the realization that the only way you're going to get this opportunity is if you do it yourself. And I think that ultimately was what drove that decision. It wasn't a fear. It was a frustration of a situation I was in. And the only way I could change it was to back me.
Yeah. So you bet on yourself. What was that experience like? How long did these internal debates and conversations go on before you took the plunge, so to speak?
I think that the internal conversations went on for about 5 years. I got to be honest. But it wasn't 5 wasted years. It was 5 years of thinking, strategizing. So my personal situation, I've got twins, awesome, 2 little kiddies. Married, everything's great. We obviously live in a different country from where I'm from. And my identity, I guess, being connected to this huge brand. And I think it was a case of realizing that you had so much more to offer. And I think a corporation throws you into a situation, which is totally cool. I get it. but they want to get the most out of their employees. And then everyone goes in a box, and like, you might be a HR person, you might be an IT person, you might be a sales guy or sales girl. And I think it came to a point where I was looking at it, and I was sort of, after sort of 2 years thinking about it, I started dabbling in a bit of this stuff and learning a bit about like setting up a business, taxes, trademarks, and things just slowly snowballed and evolved until before I'm then looking at it going, well, I can probably make this work. And then I waited another year and a half, and then I'm looking at it again thinking, well, now I'd be an idiot if I didn't do this. So I made the huge jump, become a bridge that started as a rope bridge and ended up as like a cement structured bridge that I'm like, well, I can't, why would you not step on this thing? You know, it's there. And that was how I did it, but I'm extremely cautious. Look back, could have done it sooner, but also look back and had the best time ever working for that company the way I did. I mean, it was amazing. So it wasn't purgatory, but it was frustration at the end for sure.
It's funny because I have a totally opposite experience. My last employer, and this was 9 years ago, was bodybuilding.com was the name of the company. And kind of like you kind of alluded to, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just felt like I kept coming up against like political red tape. You can't do this, stay in the box. This is what we do. You don't do anything different. And I just felt that immense frustration. And I kind of just jumped and didn't have a plan B. And, you know, here I am, however many years later, it worked out. I love it. But like you, there wasn't that level of preparation. I was young. I was a little irresponsible in many ways, but it worked out. Did you have benchmarks you wanted to hit, whether financially or otherwise, to give you that peace of mind to walk that bridge?
I think obviously in the situation I was in with the commitments of others reliant on me, there were financial numbers that I needed to get to. Yeah. I think I dove into this, and there were things that you don't see when you go independent, that you don't know the costs are there. I had to get very comfortable with spending a lot of money month in, month out, which I'm still getting comfortable with even 2.5, 3 years into this, as I now go into other ventures and other projects that are bigger. And the experiences I'm having right now are exactly the same as they were 2.5, 3 years ago. Not the ones of, I didn't want to let down my employer. Like, I'd gone so far, that company was such a part of my DNA that there were things I wanted to do right. Like, I had people advising me that were like, you can do this, you can do that. And more intelligent than I am. And I had no issue having people that are smarter than I mean, Jesus, it doesn't take much to be smarter than me to be around me. So that was fine. And it's like, they were like, you can take more risk here. You can push this. You can do that. Legally, you have this. I didn't want to do that. I just really liked the company I work for, still do. So that was important to me, that I kept the high ground. And then as we rolled on to decisions that I've got now versus decisions then, now we're in a negotiation on things, and it's tougher than it was before because it's bigger. And all that's changed is the stakes have got bigger. The people you're dealing with are a little different. But you just go with what you're prepared to give up and what you're prepared to accept. Because ultimately you have to find a happy neutral ground. It's going to be me that is the talent that drives the business forward. But without everyone helping me now that I have around me, I wouldn't be where I am. So I recognize all that. Yeah. But I was with someone the other day, a good friend of mine, very successful, and he was talking about the importance of time to think. And I think that you can get so busy, like either meeting after meeting. We play golf. That takes time. I pride myself on a good golf game. That takes time. I'm a dad. I like that. That takes time. I'm a husband. I like that. That takes time. Your time is precious. That's the most important thing. And I think at the end of the day, you have to realize that you do need moments where if you can get somewhere to think. And while I was going through the first transition into independent stuff, I was surfing quite a bit, living here in San Diego, which is an English guy. Isn't really the stereotypical thing you would do, but I think it had a place at that time in my life where it's just time between sets and sitting and thinking and trying to calculate what you're going to do. I think that's important. And now I've gone back to playing way more golf, and I can use that time to think. And that's like a Zen space for me, I guess, now. But it's important, I think, that is an overlooked piece. That you can get so busy in a corporation or so busy on your own business and so focused on things that are materialistic that sometimes being independent, You can work really hard for 3 weeks and not see a nickel. And then you can do not a lot for 5 days and see a lot. You just don't know when it's going to come, and it does come if you keep at it. And I think if you believe in what you're doing and believe in who you are, I think it really does work out. But that wouldn't mean people listening to this just go out and do something without a plan. Like, I needed a plan because there were others reliant on me.
Yeah, really well said. And for those of you listening, those last, 4 or 5 minutes, so many nuggets there. I'm going to try my best to catch and unpack all of them a little more for you. But you mentioned, it's obviously a huge transition to walk away from security and predictability, financially speaking, especially when you have loved ones that depend on you. So you use the word, the stakes are higher now. There's pressure at that decision moment, that fork in the road. What did you take to these decisions around pressure and higher stakes situations that you learned or were conditioned to become better at during your 20 years with TaylorMade?
So going into all the conversations now, I've already alluded to it, and I'm not afraid to keep coming back to it. I have people around me that help me, that I've set up another company, and they're partners in it. And again, they're more skilled and they're trusted. Like one guy I've known for 25 years. So he's only got always my interests at heart. That's good to have. But you need a yin and a yang to that, which I have. But the one piece that I take now, and it's no fault of the employer. Again, once you become an employer, I think you realize that you want talent, but you want talent that wants to be loyal to you, and you want talent that returns higher than what you pay that talent as you pay employees. It's just a fact. And I think that the one piece that I take with me is that all of the businesses I'm involved with, the common denominator, and whether people listening to this think this is overconfidence or arrogance at this point, I really don't care. Yeah. But the bottom line is that none of the things I go into could work without me. And it doesn't matter who you're dealing with and how much maybe they're putting in or they're worth, or it doesn't work without me. And that's just what I go into and specialize in. And I've made what I do my absolute life passion anyway, which is I work in the golf industry. I love golf. You wonder then, like I said earlier, like golf courses have become my Zen state. You effectively never really get away from the game. But I'm okay with that because I'm sort of sick about how much I like that game. And I've split it into forms. And for me, one of the things that I really struggle with to cross-pollinate the two. So I educate on golf equipment. I'm a golf equipment specialist. But the actual playing side and this whole new wave of YouTube playing, that's the one piece that I dip my toe in and then quickly move out of and think about getting involved and then move out of, because the playing of the game to me is its purest fashion. And I don't know if I respect what these YouTube golf guys do, but it's rare that you sort of see me dive into the big sort of jovial YouTube type golf scene. It's like I have a brand that is founded on education of golf equipment and specialized on that at the highest level in the game. And it's like, I don't know, I keep teetering with the other sides of it, and I like them. They're great for the game. I'm just not sure how much I'll go into them going forward.
What do you attribute this level of confidence and obviously the niche of expertise and success you've had in golf equipment education too?
Data. You know, I work a lot in data, and I think the future of the game is data. And if the data says, for example, that things are better than something else, and you can get data everywhere, like we can see how well this podcast does, we can see how well YouTube does, we can see how well golf clubs that we fit for players do, we can see how well we play golf, we can see how well we hit drivers versus 6 irons. Ultimately, once you've got data and it proves what you do, there's no like question marks on that. If the data says what you're doing works, then it works.
Yeah. So then take us back throughout these 20 years. You know, you're leveraging data, you're rapidly strengthening your skill set, your craft, and you're working with some of the top golfers in the world at the time. I might, from the outside, label these as a perceived pressure-filled moment with great expectation. That might not be how you perceived it in the moment. How did you perceive it? And what have you learned about yourself having endured and successfully executed during those moments?
I think everyone finds something that they're amazing at. And it just so happened that like I wanted to be a professional golfer. I had aspirations in the game of golf that were as high as what any of us could list, and I didn't make it. I didn't get even close when I look back at it. And I ended up, through being good at sales through using data, even in like 2004, early launch monitors, used that to prove a sale, did great with sales, and then obviously got offered the job working on the tour. But that whole thing from there, and I didn't play golf personally for about 10 years. Now I played once every now and again, but I pretty much quit because I didn't get to where I wanted to get to. And I think through my 20s, enjoyed the travel, enjoyed the job, was maybe a little bit bitter that it wasn't me playing. So I think that doing the job I was doing was a little bit of a second career. It was not the intention.
Yeah.
I wanted to be, Ryder Cup star, major winner. Didn't happen. So, at the end of the day, I think as I fought for 10, 12 years trying to accept that, I never once realized that I was fitting the best players in the world week in, week out in what others would perceive as a pressure situation. It never even dawned on me. It was like, well, I'm not hitting the ball, so how can this be any pressure?
Fascinating reframe there. And then you've used this word a couple times now, but originally you said when talking about some of your decision making, you have to be very clear and honest with yourself about what you're willing to give up and what you're willing to accept. And I'm curious if you walk us through that decision point to go off on your own, to pursue your goals and really leave the lasting impact that you desire. What were some of those tough conversations around giving up and acceptance like?
So there's a guy in the golf industry, he's passed away now, bless him, but Carson Solheim. So he founded Ping. Then you look at Eli Callaway. He founded Callaway. So these guys went down in history in the golf industry. And it started to come to me like, okay, what are you going to stand for? I was approaching middle age, and it's like, what are you going to give up? What are you going to stand for? Well, you want to stand for something, you got to risk a little more than what you're doing right now. So then after that, financial rewards came into it. And I live in California. It's an expensive place. I've got 2 kids. I've got to make sure they have the best start in life. Like, that's just important to me. So you can keep working for these companies. And again, the equations that they go through are fantastic. They know exactly what they got to pay you to effectively have an okay life in California. Well, okay is okay. That's what okay is. And you've got to be okay with okay. And there were other things that I wanted, and I like cars. And, I'd had either a worse car or the same car for too long. And that's a materialistic thing that you can only have after you've taken care of everything else. But I realized it was a symbol in my life that was important. So there was the initial driver to be like, if you want to be known in this game that you love, that you've already given half of your life to, and you're prepared to give the rest of it to, you're going to need to take more risks if you want to be somebody. And by the way, at this stage, this really isn't a risk because you've been building this subconsciously for 20 years. You didn't know it, but you were. You've only just started thinking about it 5 years ago because you're super frustrated that you're not where you want to be on the bell curve of success. And others around you maybe have caught you up or have passed you. So why are you paving the same road that everyone else is paving? Because you're no longer putting the pavestones down at the front because they've already gone down. When there's a path over here that you can go through the forest, and who knows where it'll take you. But guess what? If you drop snacks along the way, you can find your way back to the pavestone. And you've done 20 years on the pavestone. That pavestone is big enough, long enough that you can easily get back onto it because you got plenty of snacks to drop and come back. And I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but that's been the safety blanket for me, that I can dive back into the golf industry very quickly. Social media obviously came around and I was late to the party on that. But at the same note, it became a front of house for the business that I have. I would say it's 40%, 50% of what I do now. It's important. It's fun at times. It's not as fun as it was when I started. But on the same note, I've got new projects that I'm working on because I'm deeper in the forest now than the outskirts. And it's like you see that there's a lot more to learn in there. And it's like, I'm okay with it. But you have to be okay with it. But I think it's knowing that the goals I truly had when I was young to be a tour player didn't work, and then resetting some goals in this second career and realizing if you're going to even get close to having your name mentioned in this game, you got to risk way more.
That's incredibly well said. And I think one of the underlying themes of what you just shared that you didn't explicitly say is yet again, data. You had this 20-year track record. Like, look, you've done the thing, you've left the impact, you've had the success. Okay, it might feel a bit, risky or scary to make the jump. But again, if we're going back to data helps make all these decisions far easier, boom, you had 20 years of data. And the reason I'm regurgitating that is I know there are so many people listening who are thinking about jumping ship from their company to go consult or start their own business, or maybe they want to take a different role or switch companies altogether. And there is the fear, will anybody want me? Will anybody hire me? And it's like, look, if you've been at that company 5, 10, 20 plus years providing nonstop value, you've already proven you've done it and you can continue to do it.
Yeah, I think an important piece to this is we get to middle management pretty quickly, pretty easily. And then, you might get a nice title and you'll get your little bonus, whatever industry you're in. And it's like, cool, someone dictates what you get and you get it, or you go out and you hit your figures, whatever. I wanted to be, again, setting in the corporate world set, I wanted to run like the global department of what I was in. And I realized that a guy retired, that role was given to someone else. And I'm like, okay, that was extremely political because I've lived everywhere in the world and I'm the only one probably really, truly qualified to do that. And I was overlooked very easily, cast aside, put into a job that was not going to be fulfilling on a path I'd already paved. And that was the final straw that set this in motion. And now I look at it and I say to someone who helps me quite a bit, like, I could easily now go back in and at some point, if I wanted to, and easily get into an executive role, because I know more now over the last 3 years than I would ever have known if I'd have stayed another 15 at that company. So I think if you want those roles, I think if the time's right, something will come to me in that world. And then it will really be like, do I really want to do that? Because I'm doing everything now in my own business and have hands and fingers on everything. It's just a lot more fun and the rewards are a lot greater that now maybe I'll never go back and fulfill that thing I wanted to do because it moves too slow. Like, and I get it. Corporations have got to move slow. And I'm all for it. I'm not sitting here going to hate on the corporations. They're great. Golf industry is great. The golf businesses are great. I think all of it is phenomenal. Some super smart people. But it was just this desire that hadn't left me that I can do more, want to do more, and have to do more if I'm going to get anywhere near what I want to do. And I think it's important that you have a couple of materialistic things that you can get yourself, because at the end of the day, it's your business. Very hard to spend your money on you, I think. And whether that's a well-being situation or a surf trip or a yoga retreat or even like, I don't know, anything. But I think you have to do that because you got to there's no one there setting goals for you once you go on your own. You've got to do them yourself.
What's the value? What's the ROI, so to speak, on those, treating yourself, if you will, the trips, the investments in yourself? What's the ROI from a business perspective?
That is a good question. And how you put a number on that, I don't know. For me, it's why it sounds crazy, but it's why I do it. Because I know once I do those things that everything that's important to me in my life is okay. Because that's the last thing I'm going to do. I'm not doing it. If I go out and buy something and it's materialistic and someone looks at it and is like, well, that's flashy. They have no idea what's beneath the iceberg in terms of the foundation because of the way I am. But for me, they're everything. And I will continue to do it. The problem is like the timelines between the things you want get greater because you need more success to do them. But I will continue to do that. Otherwise, why am I doing this? Like, that's the driver for me.
Yeah. No, I love it because there's two angles here. One is the materialistic side. It's first and foremost, it's symbolic. It's a reminder. It's validation. It gives you the smile or the warm, fuzzy feeling, whatever it is for each of us uniquely. But then two, if it is I'm going to call it self-care investment, the retreat, the trip, the surf experience, like that goes back to what you said in the beginning of this conversation. It's a moment detached and disconnected from the business. It's the quiet, the silence, the solitude. So now you come back to the business reinvigorated psychologically, emotionally, physically, and you can continue to keep your foot on the gas. So it truly is probably an indescribable ROI when we look at it like that.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing trips and stuff now with people that have helped me and wondering if that is money well spent. But I think it is. And it's
Yeah.
experiences. And as the business grows, we'll look at it. And it's like, I don't read a ton, but bits about Nike in the early days there and Phil Knight and how he took
Mm-hmm.
his group away that helped him. These guys that helped me have come on at the start for zero, just friends. And now it's like, okay, how do we start repaying that and things that maybe didn't mean much to me about golf destinations? But it's a great game. So you gotta give people what you sometimes take for granted. But no, the personal things I think are really important to me for sure. And that's something I'll continue to do.
Yeah. So something I want to touch on too, because I find it fascinating. You share that same tenacity and ambition that I do in your entrepreneurial pursuits. You've got an incredible work ethic that speaks for itself. And you're a husband, you're a dad, you take the game of golf incredibly seriously. How do you empower yourself or give yourself the opportunity to show up at your best in all of these endeavors?
There's been a few things I think that have been subconscious again. But I think my body, as I've got more aware of it, has told me you need to do this. Rest and sleep has become, the family's young. They're 11 now, not so young, but like rest is, I get a lot of sleep or go to sleep early, wake up early, and then take time getting into the day. And then I think, like many of us through COVID, I drank a lot more, to be honest, than I've ever drank before. But it wasn't amounts and volumes, it was the frequency. And the days merged into one. And I think over the last, and I'm not saying that I'll keep this up forever, but over the last 3 or 4 months, just as I've got some new stuff I'm working on that is, it's, demanding more attention, I've stopped drinking totally. So I'm like, okay, and that's given me focus. I live off of, for me, it's old school maybe, but Outlook calendar, like everything is, if you're working, that's your work time. So freaking work, like focus on that. You know what I mean? Like do not, and if you set a start and you set an end time, don't miss those things because you can't be half on. You got to be full on. And then, one thing I'd like to get maybe better at is the away off of phone. Just like phones have become like the newspaper, but you can't go buy the newspaper anymore. It doesn't work like that. So, I don't watch hardly any television unless it's live sport. I will not watch something unless it's live and happening. If I can pause it, I'll only watch it if I'm stuck on an airplane and I don't have any work to do. So I've become very efficient with my time, but I will not sit on the couch and watch a TV show. Not happening. Waste of time. Yeah. I'll scroll through my phone for half an hour for updates on things that I want. I'll do that. I'll research things that I want on YouTube. I'll do that. But I'm not wasting time on tasks that aren't, which is why I thought that even though, I wasn't drinking a ton and certainly didn't need to give up alcohol for any real reason, it was just not feeling 100% if I'd had one or two the night before. It's like, well, you're wasting time. And time's important because the better you do at this, the quicker you can capture what you're trying to do.
Bingo. I agree. For me, I go one step further. Like I agree in that, people say all the time is the most important currency. Like I argue energy.
Yeah.
Because if we have the same 60 minutes, but if you're run down from a few drinks and a bad couple nutrition choices the night before, you're only able to give 50% of your energy in that hour versus 100%. There's a stark contrast in the total output or effectiveness, and it's all a game of energy management. Like I'm a big believer, if you can learn to master your energy, the opportunities in your life are limitless.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. I think it's. But you become more aware of it as you get older. You become more aware of the decisions. I beat myself up all the time saying, I wish I knew some of this 20 years ago. But it's not possible. It's not the way it works.
Yeah.
So you've just got, I couldn't have started this business sooner because I wasn't in a place. And I think you have to cut yourself some slack on that. And I do think the people that you're around are important. And maybe if I ended up, another big driver for me was joining a golf club. I ended up joining a golf club. That was another sort of treat to myself. And then you get a different set of friends again. And that helps, like who you're around. And that really impacts what you can do. And I don't think you should be afraid to leave people. It's not leaving them behind. They're always there, but you just choose not to be there,
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
I think
okay.
that's one of the hardest things, at least speaking personally, I've endured as I've gotten older and gone different directions is I always say you end up having to audit your relationships. Some you edit, some you got to delete. And it's to protect, again, your own energy to put forth into what matters most to you.
Yeah, totally. I think a big driver for me as well is like, the industry will dictate things that I'm in. It'll say things will be a certain way. And I'm on a journey to, I don't know if we can swear on this, but I said it the other day.
100%.
And we were having a conversation with people that I'm working with me and we're talking about a situation and it's like, well, and I was just like, fuck the industry.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Like I have been in this thing for 20 years. I know the pathway the consumer wants to go. So fuck what the industry says. Like, let's go this route. And that is bold statements that I've heard made from leaders of massive companies that I've been involved with before. And I stepped away from those comments and conversations. And I'm like, wow, that was a moment to be like, fuck you truly believe this. So let's do it, which is good because you can. It's stupid. It's not as hard. Again, this next project I'm going into, I was sat with someone who was advising me and they're like, 18 months from now, you'll be looking on for the next biggest thing. It'll be 3 times bigger than this. Like, don't worry, you got it. And it's like, sometimes I guess you need to hear that, but I'm getting to the point where I need to hear it less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So walk us through that. You kind of alluded to earlier, sleep and rest are important here. You ease into the day, I think is how you described it, or a slower morning. How do you ensure you have the clarity around what needs to get done to move the needle forward?
Yeah, that's a good one. So, for example, this morning I've started my day with 2 podcasts. I wouldn't normally do that, but I always start at 7 a.m. is go time for me. So I work a lot with people on time zones that are east of me. And I have a friend in business who doesn't take calls after a certain time. I will always take late calls as well with other time zones if needed. I generally don't like putting work on the front and the back. I like to have it either all at the back or all at the front. And 99% of the time, I'll take it all from 7 until 3 p.m. because the kids are coming home and then I got to be a dad. And then at sports, if I got to pick something up, I'll do it there and then. My YouTube channel still, because that works on a timeline that you cannot miss with algorithms and stuff. That takes priority, but I'm organized on that. I have a camera guy that helps me run that. He's become more than just a camera guy. But it really depends how big the opportunity is. And the biggest opportunities go out front, which is like 7 a.m. If it's big, then I'll ease myself into a day, but I'm usually up at 5 and just having some time to me and the dog and the coffee cup. And then I'm like, okay, I've thought about getting bigger into exercise and stuff, but no, golf is enough right now in that sense, other than well-being to play better golf. But I will do work that way. That YouTube is the one timeline that runs. Any commitments financially, they're non-negotiable. So stuff you've got to do for anyone else or hit a deadline, non-negotiable. I stay on all the finance stuff. Again, timelines and that non-negotiable, but front load days and front load weeks is how I do it. Everything happens early.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're freshest, you have the most energy to get it done.
And then if things bowl over and I'm busy, I'll be honest, I'll go 7 days a week. It doesn't bother me. And I just know golf is seasonal. What are we now? December the 1st. It's seasonal. We're in the quiet period, but we're in the period you gotta be planning because Q1 is major. It gets super busy. So the more active I can be now, the more time I can save in Q1.
Bingo. I just recorded an episode a couple of weeks ago. This is separation season. This is where you get to distance yourself from competitors, but also past versions of yourself. You can crave and cave into the holiday comfort. I'll start at the new year or after tax season. Bullshit. If you're truly committed, you're working right now.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not. Obviously, like Thanksgiving isn't traditionally a UK holiday. We've had
Yeah.
it, but I was working all the way up to that. Obviously, Thanksgiving with the vote those around us, and then straight back into it. And I'll do the
Yeah.
same now in the run into Christmas. No drama. It just is what it is. That's just not.
Yeah.
There's not a choice. If you think that's a choice, then this ain't for you.
Bingo. So I want to pick your brain on your expertise a little bit here and really empower the audience to ask better questions when it comes to their equipment, when it comes to their next fitting. What are 2 to 3 questions most people don't ask during a club fitting that they should ask that go a long way in finding that perfect fit and gear selection?
Yeah, I think the first question needs to be, and someone said it to me years ago. I was a good player, but it's like, what does a good shot look like for me? I think people and amateurs need to know what success of a golf shot looks like for them. And then from there, what can I expect? What can I demand? Because if your expectations meet your demands, you become a better player. If you demand too high, but data says that even the best in the world can't do that, then why are you're always going to be disappointed. And if you're disappointed, it puts you in a mental state where you become impatient because you chase. And if you chase, you don't make good decisions. And if you don't make good decisions, you cause yourself problems. So I think that golfers need to set about those 2 key things before they go on a club fitting journey. And it sure as hell isn't about hitting it as hard and as far as you can. You need to take your time on those decisions. It's about consistency of strike and understanding how you deliver the golf club.
So walk us through an example there. Are we talking like flight pattern, trajectory, apex, all of those nuances of data to get clear on exactly what we intend to execute consistently?
I think flight path and apexes are that's optimizing ball flight. So you can do that in a fitting.
Yep.
But I think the one thing that you got to take away from the fitting, when you start to dial in the club you want, the furthest left and the furthest right ball that you hit in that fitting. So how many fittings come up where a guy just stands there in a net and starts banging balls, banging balls, banging balls? No. What is the intent of the golf shot? And then after you've hit 12, which is plenty, allowing for an amateur golfer to hit some mishits, what's our furthest left and what's our furthest right ball of those 12? You capture that. Then all of a sudden you might turn to a golf hole and go, okay, this fairway is 35 yards left to right. Your furthest left miss was 25 yards. Your furthest right miss was 3 yards. So aim down the right side, knowing that you miss left so you can be in play, because you only missed 3 yards right on our 12 shot scatter graph. The more you hit, the further right you may be, but understanding your aim point and then having the expectations, knowing that all you can expect is a 25 yard left and a 3 yard miss right.
Yeah.
And there's your expectations. Don't expect to launch it at 14, spin at 2,500 with a 100 feet apex. Chill out. Let's save that for Rory, and let's just talk a little bit about what you can do.
Love that. Now, talking about timeline, so I'll use myself as an example. I picked up the clubs again, 18, 19 months ago. It's probably, no handicap yet to a 25. I'm at a 14 as a day of recording this year. I got fitted early in my journey when I realized, unbeknownst to me, I bought a set of used blades that I had no business swinging as I got back into the game. Are the clubs I have now, and I know this is a very general question, however, going to be the clubs that get me to scratch, or will there be another fitting that will expedite that journey at some point?
If money wasn't an issue and fitting was available for you, I would be recommending that you would get your clubs tested every 12 months to see have the loft and lies moved on these clubs. If you're a golfer who's got some athletic ability, taking golf lessons, improving the consistency of strike, then the irons that you take as a 25 handicapper should look significantly different to the irons that get you from 15 to 10. The 10 to 5 should look significantly different. The 5 to 0, you might keep a couple of clubs that got you from 10 to 5, but they're going to look different. The 0 to +5, now you need a squad. You need 20 clubs. And then you play different ones at different golf courses for different reasons. So the answer is the clubs change. Now, money isn't always the option, and that isn't going to get everyone through. But if you have clubs that you like, they become part of your team that keep going, and you add around that. But yeah, the clubs should change as you get better, for sure.
Yeah. So that 12 months a good timeline to check in. If the finances are there, you're due for so long as you're consistent in your lessons, you're playing in your improvement pursuit.
If we were on the perfect recipe to improve a golfer, and you had a teacher and a fitter that worked in tandem, or a teacher that was a fitter and they actually knew what they were doing, then I think that's good. If you're not committed and don't have the time, then it's every 2 years. But if you're really on a training plan and you're working on it and you've got lofty goals, you got to keep on top of your golf clubs. At the end of the day, they're the tools of your trade.
So let's go one step further. Would you recommend having a separate fitter and golf coach, or would you recommend having someone who has a, quote, expertise in both arenas?
I think it depends. I think you need to mix the two. And I think a great fitter will work with a great golf coach. I think that golf coaches generally don't know much about equipment. I think some fitters do know a little bit about coaching. But I think if you can get a pair that work together, or a squad that works together, or a fitter that can work with any coach, because let's face it, your fitter's going to be busy fitting and you want your time off your coach. I think the best thing to do is have them both work together.
I agree. And I love how you said it too, because it brings full circle the theme you alluded to in the beginning, is like you're surrounding yourself with a team. And then someone told me once, this changed my life. Literally, like if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And I love hearing you just really embody that throughout the conversation.
Yeah, totally. It's on you though, isn't it? You've got to drive it. I mean, you can have others around you, but you got to drive it.
Absolutely. So let me get you out of here on this, Chris. I want you to imagine there is a billboard on the center of a golf course. It's viewable from all 18 tee boxes, and it's the opportunity to put one lasting reminder to share with everybody on the golf course that day. What's the simple message you're writing on that billboard for everybody to see?
So my old man was pretty inspiring for what he came from and what he did. I think a message on the golf course. So there'd be two. There'd be one that I'd put for life, and then for the golf course would just be like, know your expectations, like know what you're capable of, and set your expectations on this golf course to what you're truly capable of. Now, there would only be, if there was 100 golfers, you'd have a maximum of 10 that would truly go and understand that. And then you'd have a maximum maybe of 4 that would go out and do it. Because by that, you got to get a launch monitor, you got to figure out your dispersion, and you got to set targets and expectations based on those things. Fact. But there's only going to be a few people that are prepared to do that. Just like listening to this, there's only a few people that are prepared to go and achieve what they're capable of. And the thing is, even with what I achieve, I could have achieved more. I know that. You go out and do what you can always do more. And then I think back in like the 80s when my old man was working, he got in a corporation, stayed there for years, loved it. But he got me it was like morning dew on a golf course, and there were footsteps in the dew, and it just said success. And it said, some people dream of success, others wake up and work hard at it. And that's always stuck with me. And I had that mentality at a company. And in the end, I felt like I'd outgrown the role and I had to do this. And I was like, if I'm prepared to work the extra, then it needs to be my name over the door. And that's how we came to this. But I do think on a golf course, and specific for the game, just set your expectations for what you're capable of. And if that means laying up on par 5s, lay up on a par 5. And if that means you've hit it in the trees and you see a gap, don't take the gap. You're not going to hit the ball through the gap. Don't even try. And if that means that you're 50 foot away, then there's a chance you're going to 3-putt. So if you do 3-putt, accept that you just 3-putted. Now try and 2-putt, try and make it. But there's a chance that you're going to 3-whack. So once you do it, it's happened, and that's why golf is like life. Once you've made a mistake, it's happened. And you once you're finished, you can sit there and say, did I really practice my lag putting from 50 feet? The answer's no. I rarely practice my pace putting. and I should, A fact of the matter is I need to do more. We can always do more, which is why I hit out there and said, I can achieve whatever I can achieve, but you can always do more.
Love that. And I love just this full circle. Like everything we talked about is applicable on and off the course. So Chris, I appreciate your wisdom, your time, and your expertise today. Thank you.
100%. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Where can our listeners go to connect with you, follow your journey, and to just continue to learn from you?
So I've become more focused on longer form, so YouTube. So my surname or nickname is Trottie, which is Trottie, and then Golf. So Trottie Golf. And it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on TikTok. But YouTube is the one, there's a website too, but YouTube is the one where I really dive into creating between 15-minute videos, but getting people aware of the equipment choices they're making and how that equipment can help their game. I've been with TaylorMade as a company for a long time. It's very TaylorMade focused, but on the same note, it's applicable to everything.
Yeah. Awesome. Chris, we appreciate you so much. And those listening, thank you for tuning in. So much wisdom here, so much opportunity to take action on what Chris shared, especially go watch his content. There's so much gold nuggets and application for you to become a better golfer much quicker than you imagine. So check him out there. And if you haven't done so already, it takes 30 seconds to leave a genuine rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to today's show. Thank you again for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Hit them straight this weekend, and we'll catch you in the next episode.